Welcome to Long Game, where we sit down with some of the most prolific athletes in pro sports to talk about legacy.
My dad told me that I was going to be bigger, stronger, I'm going to hit more home runs than him. I didn't believe it.
You were just all gas, no brakes.
It's just expectation and standard.
My dad was like, sports ain't the thing, son. You're just wasting your time.
What do you want your legacy to be?
If I'm just known as a fighter, I'll fail.
And not just legacy under the bright lights, but in all aspects of their life, family, and business.
Behind the bright lights, fighters are suffering.
Basketball is not my pinnacle.
I came from an environment that breeds champions.
We worked with Dame, and we saw Dame every day. Everything you heard about him, that's what it is.
My team here knows I want you to be great. If you're going to be mediocre, I don't want to be around you.
Why is giving back so impactful for you?
Why do I do it? Because somebody did it for me.
We'll uncover how these athletes continue to make a lasting impact.
This is Long Game.
On today's episode of Long Game, I traveled to Portland, Oregon to sit down with six-time NBA All-Star Damian Lillard. Born and raised in Oakland, Dame had to grow up fast. He started as a freshman on varsity and went on to be first-team All-League his junior and senior year. Despite that, Dame was only considered a two-star prospect. After accepting a scholarship to Weber State in Utah, Dame hit the ground running, earning Conference Freshman of the Year and being named first-team All-Big Sky. After a memorable few seasons at Weber State, Dame was regarded as one of the top point guards in the nation. Dame decided to forego his senior season and entered the NBA draft, where he was picked 6th overall by the Portland Trail Blazers.
Damian Lillard of Weber State University.
There, Dame has been able to blaze his own path in more ways than one. Dame, thanks for joining us with Long Game. Usually when we start off, I like to ask our guests, why did you choose this place we're in? We're here in Portland, Oregon.
I mean, I chose this place because this is where I call home now, and I spend a lot of time here. So the fact that I've laid so much down here and built so much here with not just myself, but my family, my kids, you know, why do it anywhere else? You know, this represents me the most right now and where I am in my life and my career. So, you know, it fit.
Mm-hmm. And that being said, the love that the fans have for you in this city, this whole state, I think is unparalleled to most athletes. Is that another reason why this is so dear to you, just the fans that you have here?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. You know, I think we all get drafted or traded or get signed to play in different cities, and they'll embrace you, you know, whether that's, you know, you the fan favorite or you an all-star or a superstar, or you lead them to a championship or whatever the case may be. And I think the city of Portland, you know, the state of Oregon love me for those same reasons, but I think the fact that they show a certain level of appreciation for who I am as a person and how I operate as a person, and they respected it, I feel embraced as more than just a basketball player. So it's that type of relationship. You know, even when I step off the floor, even when I'm not having my best games or my best season, and the respect and appreciation is still there that goes beyond, you know, what I do as a basketball player. I don't take it for granted. You know, one day the ball's gonna stop bouncing, and you know, you want people to love and respect and embrace you for who you are, you know, as a man.
I mean, that love, if we go back, it's for me, I think for you, it starts in Oakland.
Yeah.
And that's where you're from. How does that upbringing, you coming from that city, help you be the man that you are right now?
I mean, that's the, like you said, that's the foundation of who I am. I learned a lot just from the environments that I was in. You know, everybody doesn't get that same type of upbringing and that same type of culture. You know, just growing up in a neighborhood where you got to grow up faster than most people. And, you know, I was catching the bus with my older brother from first grade, second grade, public transportation, and being around people, you know, smoking and just I was around so many different things and not sheltered from it. And that's like the humble beginnings that I come from, right. Where it's like, it wasn't just one or two, should I be doing this or should I not be doing this? It was every day on the bus, you know. I'm around people that's 12 and 13 that's having pistols. and put in a position where I had to make decisions, like knowing right from wrong, and learning how to have somebody's back, knowing what it means to have, a strong family, and caring for people, being compassionate, being unselfish, sharing, like all these things. That makes it easier for me to, turn 21 and get drafted and make millions of dollars. And because of my upbringing, my lens on a lot of things is the way it is.
It takes courage, actually, to be through that and to say, I'm not gonna do that, right? I'm not going to pick up that gun or do those drugs. I got different plans. You have a love for music, and we're talking about courage that it takes, right? So you're in a box when they call you a basketball player.
Yeah.
Does it take courage to say, you know what, I'm actually going to do something different? And we've got 4 albums out already, right? I think we're working on our 5th one coming out soon. So
about done.
It has to take courage to know, like, you're gonna be criticized no matter what you do as an athlete, but you're stepping out that box. Is that same mentality when it goes into the music industry?
I think it's the same, because confidence is confidence, and the foundation of who you are is what it is, regardless of where you step into. So a big thing for me with my music is that I never pushed my music out there until I was a 2-time All-Star. Like, I was a 2-time All-Star before I did it because I always want to keep first things first. None of this would be happening or be relevant to people if I wasn't doing what I was doing on the court. So I knew that was the first thing I needed to do. But when it came to my music, I believe in what I'm saying. People gonna like it or not like it, that's one thing, but I like it and I believe in it and I love music. So, I just put it out there and let it fall where it falls. People gonna look at us as basketball players and that can only go so far, But with my music, for me, it's an outlet. I can express my feelings. I can maybe encourage or inspire people that come from situations or going through situations that I might be going through, because you never know who it might reach.
Damian Lillard made his mark on the NBA immediately, winning Rookie of the Year. After eliminating the Rockets from the playoffs on a series-ending buzzer beater, Dame time was born.
It's Lillard. He got the shot. Good! And the Blazers win the series.
Aside from being the face of the Trailblazers, Dame is also the face of Adidas, being one of their featured athletes with a signature shoe and apparel line. Forever the student, Damian has taken everything he's learned on his path and decided to give back to the next generation. I want to take it back a little bit to Weber State. NIL just passed, and looking at your career, do you think it's a good thing?
I mean, I do think it's a positive thing because I know a lot of money is generated, in college sports. They're elevating these institutions, like when they come, the school is, getting more ESPN games, they get more TV games, more people are paying attention to them because of their name and likeness. So I think it's fitting. I think it will hurt college basketball because now it's like a scholarship is a 1-year deal to begin with. And when I was in college, I signed my scholarship every year. It creates a situation where it's a good situation for the athletes, but now it's like you got to recruit your own players. So one player could have a good freshman year, now other schools are like, we can, give you this NIL deal and you can make this much money, and now you got kids going to 3 schools in 4 years. Because it used to be like, pride in your school and, March Madness and all those type of things. And now it's just like, how can I look out for myself? Which is nothing wrong with that because everybody's not gonna make the NBA and you want to capitalize when you can. But I think they just got to find a way to balance it.
Do you, though, feel like that was a missed opportunity for you? At the time, did you feel like you should have been given more than just scholarship, or did you like the platform?
I mean, I was fine with the platform that I had. Even when I picked the school, I could have went to, a few bigger schools, but I was looking for an environment and people that were in line with my upbringing. And when Coach Ray came to the house and we met, he was like, if you don't want to go to class, we're gonna send you home. I like being in a part of a tight ship. I like militant environments where, stuff is run the right way. I'm gonna be challenged, I'm gonna be corrected, and everybody else around me will too.
That same mentality of you want things run extremely tight, transfer over into the investments that you get into, the partnerships, that same type of structure you have?
I mean, I think it's a similar structure, but the number one thing for me is if we're gonna be partners, that means we gotta have something in common. You know, we gotta be in line in some way, shape, or form. So a lot of my partnerships are typically in line with something that matters to me, or something that I see value in, or something I see myself bringing value to.
One of those things you decided to do was act in Space Jam.
Yeah.
Does that align with things you wanted to do?
I mean, I've always enjoyed entertainment, you know, whether that was my music or the thought of playing a role. I've always wanted to play a role that wasn't Damian Lillard. In Space Jam, you know, obviously I was me, just like every other athlete was me, but it was like another character that I could tap into. Space Jam is an all-time great movie from my childhood.
Right.
So to be a part of the sequel, I guess, is, you know, that's a major accomplishment.
Another thing that seems to me extremely authentic is your ability to jump into mentorship and giving back to the community. Did you have any mentors growing up?
Yeah, I've had a lot of them. And coming under my dad, it allowed me to have so many different mentors, like my AAU coach, Raymond Young. You know, he was a janitor, but he coached basketball, and he was on me about everything. And he pushed me really hard to the point where some people might get to the point where they dislike him. And then I get to college and I meet, you know, Phil Beckner, who's my trainer to this day. And he's on me about being on time to class. What time did you go to sleep? Did you take an ice bath? Did you eat breakfast? You know, did you do your homework? How many shots did you get? Then I get to the NBA and I meet David Vanderpool. And because of my upbringing, I've been fortunate enough to meet people at all these different levels, and I've been open enough to just hear them out and, you know, listen to what they had to say and take like a mentor type of role to where I've gotten it from so many different directions that I have a lot to say. I've had so many people share these things with me that made me who I am.
Right.
So when I'm sharing it with other people, I know that it's powerful. I know that it's impactful. You know, I just want to give it up the way people gave it up to me.
Yeah, I love it. People have poured into you.
Yeah.
And now you're pouring back into people.
Exactly.
And a lot of those young men and women are, you know, youth basketball players.
Yeah.
What do you do to raise money for your amateur team?
Well, I have a mentorship style basketball camp that this year will be the first year, Formula Zero, where we're gonna have 20 high school players, 20 college players. And the camp is us pushing them and helping them become better basketball players, but it's equally as important for us to push them and challenge them to be better people, because it's a lot of stuff that we're trying to push on them is a part of what I picked up from my mentors and people that, you know, I grew up around. And a lot of those same people are working the camp. David Vanderpool is working the camp. Raymond Young is working the camp. Phil Beckner is running the camp. You know what I mean? It's the real thing. So that's the kind of stuff that I, you know, go to my partners like, I want to do this, you know, and the budget could be this, that. This is what we need to cover. And my partners support what I'm doing because we're in line. And, you know, then we go back and we do the work that needs to be done. And that's just one example.
At UBS, I came up with a piece called Sun and Wealth, where we talk about communities and athletes that come from communities that are maybe underserved, and now they're thrust in the limelight, making millions of dollars. For you and your family and friends, how did you deal with the Sun and Wealth?
I think it was an easy transition for me. It wasn't an easy transition for my family because somebody used to tell me the overnight success knows best that success doesn't happen overnight. When I think about my success, like, I know how long and how hard I was working. Like, I went to college for 4 years.
Yep.
And I knew everything that I put into it. So when it came, I was like, I gotta handle this. Like, this is precious. I gotta be careful. And I don't know how long it's gonna last. So for me, I knew that I was walking into millions of dollars, but like, I wanted it to stretch. I wanted it to last. But then you have like the family who are looking at you like, you got millions of dollars, when really, I might not actually have $1 million until I've played, you know, almost 2 years because of taxes, and you gotta pay for this, and you got cost of living and all this stuff. So, like, they don't understand that you don't have what it appears that you have. So to them, they like, all right, you know, I don't have no groceries, and, you know, I gotta pay my car note, and can you help me pay for, you know, my daughter's cheerleading, and can you do, like, I'm telling people, like, I don't got it like that, you know what I mean? And to them, they like, we know you making $3.2 million this year. Well, half of that is already gone. I got to tear that off the jump.
Absolutely.
That's the real hurdle. You know, my dad was telling me off the rip, you don't owe nobody nothing. You don't owe me nothing. You don't owe your mom nothing. I made the decision like my mom ain't working no more. Like when I got drafted, I went to my mom's job with her to tell them like she quit. Like,
Love it.
but my dad was like, that's okay. You know what I mean? That's your mom. But like, my dad still worked to this day.
That explains actually why you're who you are, right? Like they've done a good job of at least putting you in the right position to make the right decisions. And we need more of that.
Yeah.
You're extremely passionate about your philanthropic work. You're a global ambassador for the Special Olympics. And you also talked about earlier Formula Zero.
Yeah.
Explain why you're passionate about that.
I'm a person that I push myself and I do all these things because I want to do well at whatever it is I'm doing. My greatest joy is not in my own success. It's in like, you know, I want to see my family members happy and successful, and I want to see the people around me happy and successful. I like to see others happy and others doing well. And it doesn't have to be, you know, on the strength of me. You know, if I can be of service or I can be a participant in lifting up somebody else, that's when I'm in my best space. You know, that's the most joy that I can get. And I think people can feel that. You know, I think they can feel that it's not a show with me, and that's part of why they embrace it.
Let's talk a little bit more about your relationship with the Special Olympics.
I started working with Special Olympics when I was 17, when I first got on campus at Weber. And it was like a mandatory event for the team. You know, our coaches was like, you know, this is important to us. You know, we got some kids that are gonna come by. We're gonna do a few hours. We're gonna do a camp. We're gonna work with them. We're gonna have a good time. And like, you guys need to appreciate this. And you guys need to look like you want to be there. Don't show up thinking that you're above it, because these kids, you know, fight stuff that you guys would never imagine. When we got there, it was like they had so much energy. And, you know, we were just Weber State basketball players. I mean, nobody knew who we were. But to them, like, they lit me up because of how excited they were to be there with me. Like, you know, you were incoming freshman, like everybody's excited. Like, they actually knew who I was. So they almost like lifted me up.
Yeah.
So like they picked my energy up in that few hours of camp. And it just changed me. It's a blessing to have, you know, what some of us have, you know, when you think about what so many don't have. You know, they don't have the same luxuries that we have. From that point on, I stayed involved, you know, going forward. We did it a couple times while I was at Weber. And then once I got to the league, I continued it, you know, and one thing led to another. I became a global ambassador and, for Special Olympics, and it's been that way. It's been that way from the beginning.
How about the Respect program with the Portland area high schools? You want to touch on that?
Yeah, so the Respect program started off as an anti-bullying campaign that I started just because I grew up around some kids that have been impacted in a negative way from bullying, that I kind of took it upon myself to defend them, you know, in a way that probably wasn't the right way. You know, I wasn't picking fights, but I was like sticking my chest out behind somebody that I knew getting picked on, and I was seeing the toll that it was taking on him, you know, and his confidence. You know, he was almost like shrinking a little bit and like not uncomfortable at school all the time. And that was something that just never left me. So it started off as an anti-bullying campaign and just, you know, raising awareness and getting people to see that it's a real issue, and kids are committing suicide and having secrets from their parents and not wanting to talk about it out of being embarrassed and stuff like that. And it's something that to this day people don't realize how big of a deal it is or how often it happens. You know, that was important to me, and then that eventually evolved into the Respect campaign, where we're encouraging, you know, kids to show up, work hard, and be kind, genuinely. And the schools that we pick are, you know, usually low in attendance, low in graduation rates, and we just provide incentives and different things to encourage the kids to, you know, just pick it up a little bit. You know, it's better out there for you, but you gotta give something. You gotta fight through, you know, the tough parts about being a kid. It's something that we've put a lot of time and effort and money into to try to just encourage these kids to keep moving in the right direction.
Damian Lillard's name is synonymous with excellence. On the court, he's a marvel to watch. Off the court, he's a humble man, husband, and father. A work ethic forged by his family and the city of Oakland. With all his accomplishments, he still has a burning desire to be different on multiple levels. What's the Lillard name? Like, what do you want that to be remembered for?
I think my name is already remembered, especially in Oakland, because, it was Lillards before me that had this type of reputation for just being good people and being solid people and looking out for people and doing it without keeping score. Obviously, my reputation as a basketball player will be what it is, but I want my reputation to be that we worked with Dame and we saw Dame every day, or, we dealt with Dame when nobody was around and he was the same, So I want people to know that, like, my shit wasn't fake. I ain't perfect, but I always got the right intentions, and I do everything off of, off the strength of who I am, not off of, what it could bring me or what it could do for me.
And you've done a good job. And I think you've reached a certain level of excellence that not many people will. The question I would ask is, you seem to still have a hunger inside you that's pushing for further greatness. Where is that fire coming from?
It's just inside of me. Everybody has I want to prove these people wrong. Everybody has a little bit of that, like, I just want to show them. I think part of it is that, but the main part of it is that I want certain things for me that I haven't accomplished yet. I think that's the fire that's going to always be burning, because it's always something that I'm trying to reach. I want to win an NBA championship. I want to be an MVP. I want to create real generational wealth in my family, like, not just, making a couple $100 million. I want to be a billionaire, you know what I'm saying? So I'm always working, I'm always paying it forward, hoping that I continue to have the kind of favor that I've had.
We look back at your journey, you seem to have everything buttoned up. You made the right decisions. Obviously, being drafted by the Portland Trail Blazers wasn't your choice, but you've made it work extremely well. Are there any regrets that you may have on anything that you look back that I wish I would have did something a little differently?
As a professional, there's not a whole lot I look back at. I do wish I would have communicated more, even though I was younger. I wish I would have communicated more to LaMarcus Aldridge, because I feel like we would have won a championship together by now. I look back and say, man, I should have communicated to him for him to have a better understanding of who I am. Like, I ain't trying to compete with you. He could have easily thought that.
For you, when everyone's behind closed doors talking about your legacy, you personally, what will you hope that it is?
I would hope that they would say, like, he was as solid and as real as they come. A lot of times in this industry, like, people are one way in front of a camera or in front of people, and then behind closed doors, they backdoor sneaky and doing little, planting seeds and planting narratives and whatever. I just would want people to be like, no, like, everything you heard about him and everything that you see that's what it is.
So we talked about all the hats you wear. We could talk about basketball player, entertainment, music, philanthropist. What's next for Dame?
What's next is, I'm coming off of an injury, so I only played 30 games last season, so I'm excited to be back out there playing, for one. Two, I'm, just about done with my 5th album, so that's gonna be my 5th album. I got my first elite camp, Formula Zero. I'm excited to, get on the court and get in the classroom. So that's 3 things that I'm really excited about.
I love it. Do we have a title for the album?
The title for the album is Don Dollar.
Don Dollar?
My rap name is Dame Dollar. The album is Don Dollar. And Dollar is an acronym that stands for Different on Levels the Lord Allowed.
Wow. See, I never knew that.
See, learn something new every day, baby.
Dude, listen, we really appreciate you. It's actually a pleasure. You are the ultimate example for a lot of us in America. Just a true example of, I think, of any American that needs to be and how they need to live their life. So thank you for being who you are.
Thank you.